She's really good, and my mom was happy. She's good.
Right.
Yeah. Keep it up.
Yeah.
For anyone from the audience speaking.
But he can always use those.
If you want to use their mic when they talk.
Okay.
The ones, the red ones. The other ones are connected to my camera. Better it's not by the little face. Whenever you're ready.
All right, I'll call the regular city council of White Lakes meeting to order Monday, November 14th, 2022. Roll call, please.
Beauregard,
Here.
Grams, here, Kramer, here, Pop,
Here.
Zins.
Here. Would everybody please stand for pledge of allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is the consent agenda. Has everybody had a chance to look at the consent agenda? And if so, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Councilor Beauregard, is there support?
I'll support.
Support by Councilor Kramer. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Approval of city council meeting minutes, regular city council meeting October 24, 2022. Is there a motion to approve? Okay, excuse me. Part of the consent. Is there anybody from guests that wants to speak at this time? Okay. Reports from staff, City Administrator Lyman.
So our elections went well. With the political climate we're currently facing, in the future, we may be required to have employees work the polls rather than poll workers, because as the political climate increases in tension, we're finding a lot of our election judges aren't necessarily willing to continue to deal with those types of situations. So it may be in the future where you see city clerk staff, library staff, public works staff working the polls themselves, just because if we can't find judges, unfortunately, that's how we're going to have to staff those. So if you're interested in becoming an election judge, please let the clerk's office know. We're always looking to train people in. It's a long day, but it's a fun group of people to work with. So we also approved a cemetery project in the budget, which moves the cemetery data into an electronic format and posts it on a website so people can go in and view stories, that kind of thing. It was supposed to start in January of 23. Unfortunately, they're having a little bit of issue with staffing, so it was pushed back to mid-February 2023. And if there becomes any more problems, I will definitely keep you abreast of those issues. And that's all I have today, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Library Director Sellers.
I'm very excited to report that we were awarded the Blandin Leadership Rural Boost Grant of $55,000. And we're busy shopping and getting price quotes. And I believe the money is supposed to be sent to the city before the long by around November 24th, is that right?
Yeah, by the end of the month.
So we don't have to apply for reimbursements or anything like that. The money is going to be sent to us upfront. And we'll be using this to do some redesigning the library, creating some different spaces, a social space, a technology space, and a little sensory space. So watch for these changes. Even though after, of course, it'll be a long time because we all know how backed up everything is. So once we get things ordered, it could be 3 to 6 months before we actually see the furniture arriving and see the changes. But we're very excited about it.
Very good news. Thank you. Yeah, nice job. Public Utilities Director, Rick.
All right, I'll start with the wastewater plant. We're into the new filter building, plants, doing really well. We have new tripling filters, new filter building going. Still getting the automation going, but, sample results coming back are pretty good. So we're gonna go for mercury samples here in December to see if we're actually removing the mercury we need to from the filters. See where we're at from there. That shouldn't be a problem. We're expecting good results there. As far as the PFAS goes, as you know, we'll be sampling for PFAS in 2023. Right now, where it's at, just we signed the document, got that turned into the state, and I am putting together a sampling plan for that for next year.
Could you explain to the public what PFAS is?
So,
Not to put you on the spot, Jake, but
right, no, I get it. I could read yes, 30-some page document, but basically it's man-made byproduct having to do with like non-stick surfaces. It can be in fire retardant material, stuff like that. What they're finding is this is in the drinking water, it's in the wastewater, and it has cancer causing effects. So where we're at right now is exploring where we're gonna pick this up. It doesn't mean it's necessarily gonna be found up here. But they do want to find out where it is so they can act accordingly. At this time, they don't have the treatment figured out for it yet. It is a new thing they're finding. But tomorrow, the Department of Health will be in to test our drinking water facility to see if there's anything in there. And then over next year, we'll be testing our wastewater. We got selected for that due to having a significant industrial user, which is the Alaskan Energy facility. My thoughts are they're not going to find much. Aside from the mines, we don't really have any industry I could see producing that, but it will be interesting to see if we do find something. Where it'd be coming from. That's the best explanation I have right now. There is a packet with information I can provide at City Hall if people want to learn more about it. Otherwise, call the Utilities Department. I have a bunch of things on it, so.
thank you.
And then, aside from that, getting ready for end of the year, getting my stuff in order for my reports. My first report will be the pre-treatment discharge report for 2022. We'll be having this, turn that in by January 31st. So it's just a review of Alaskan's discharge to us overall in 2022.
All right, thank you. EMS Director Olmsted.
We had 78 runs for October. And tomorrow I'm attending the Rural EMS meeting in Blue. Other than that, I don't have any.
Wednesday, right?
Oh, Wednesday, sorry, it's not,
I didn't.
it's Wednesday.
Thank you. City Attorney Mitch.
Nothing from me there.
Okay. Reports from Councilor Pop.
Nothing tonight, man.
Councilor Kramer.
Nothing tonight.
Councilor Grahams.
Nothing to report.
Councilor Border.
Nothing tonight.
And I'll keep it consistent. We'll move on to old business. Ordinance number 235, updating the intoxicating liquor hours of operation.
The city council at its last regular meeting requested or discussed updating the liquor ordinance to match state law, which would allow for Sunday sales to begin at 8 a.m. The city previously had that at noon. So this ordinance in front of you has been posted for the appropriate length of time. If the council passes it today, it will get published in the paper at sometime in the next couple of weeks. After that publication, it will then become law. All it does is change the hour of operations to be 8 a.m. consistent with state law.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Councilor Border, is there support?
I'll support.
Supported by Councilor Grams. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Uh, 2023 strategic plan identified focus update.
I will be putting this on the agenda when we have significant changes, updates for the council. I am targeting the first week of December or thereabouts for meetings with marketing firms regarding the arena. As you can see, Kenny also found an estimate or received an estimate from not sharing speed sports, fire, rock and snow. Okay, there we go. I always want to call it earth, wind and fire. So from him to clear that area. And so as he was trying to get estimates for clearing the wooded area that the council identified, the main concern that we have is with the stumps and brush. And so the city employees would be able to cut down trees. It's the problems that we're gonna face when we come to taking the stumps out of the ground and the brush. Shearing's quote for $5,500 is a very reasonable price. Law of Enterprises wasn't able to get that on the schedule until late in the season. And then the mobilization cost for that Law of Enterprises would be pretty significant. So again, the council didn't budget for either one of these items. I have it on their informational tonight. If you want me to bring it back to you, we can talk about it more in depth at a special meeting in December. Or if you want to approve it tonight, you're welcome to do so. Or if you want to direct us together on information, however you want to take that from here.
I did speak with Tony House and Pete Wallner from the fire department, and they have required chainsaw training and prescribed burns that they have to do. And they both thought it would be a really great training opportunity to go in there and do their chainsaw training in the spring. And then also do a prescribed burn after that to clear out a lot of the area. They said we can certainly discuss it as it gets closer to make some kind of plan, but they might be able to help take care of a lot of that area without having to use city employees like Kenny's guys to do that. The stump removal will still be an issue, but I know they said that could be a great training opportunity for them to go in that area. Also, so that will save some time at least for the city.
I can be sure the fire department's invited to a special meeting. about that.
Okay.
So was that part of your request that, do we need to take the stumps off? I mean, I thought we just wanted the trees and brush so we have a view of the lake. Is that something that's overkill or?
I mean, I would think if you're gonna do it, you don't wanna just leave a bunch of stumps there, but it's nothing that might have to be done at the same time. It could be something, you know, to think about and make a plan for, but I think if you're gonna do it, you're gonna wanna take out any large stumps and.
But it would never be an area that we would utilize for the recreation. Or
I think it'd just be an eyesore if you make it look all nice and clear it out and then you have like big stumps every once in a while, but no, it's not. Not necessary, but could be in the discussion still.
So what is the council's pleasure? Want to gather more information, bring it back?
I would say a special meeting for the priority two there. To include, sorry, for additional discussion.
Are you comfortable if I combine that with the priority one when we meet with marketing firms?
Yeah. No motion is needed.
No.
Okay, 10-3 Transmedic contract.
I had reviewed the contract with Buck and Mel reviewed it as well. There were several questions I had specifically around the deposit and the refunds issue that was in that contract. All the questions I had were answered. I did forward it to Mitch to review. It looks like if the council wants to move forward with this for January 1st, this would be an acceptable contract.
Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we'll move forward with the contract with Transmet.
Motion made by Counselor Pop. Is there support?
I'll support.
Support by Counselor Kramer. Is there any further discussion?
Mayor, I just wanted to interject that I did complete a review of the contract. It's fine. It's a good contract.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to new business. 11-1, Fisherman's Point Campground, restroom facility. Brian,
And good evening, Mayor and Council. For those of you that don't know me, new council members, my name is Brian Bolden. I'm with Bolden Mink, consulting engineer, working on both wastewater projects and the Fisherman's Point Campground project. So first of all, a couple items for Fisherman's Point Campground, just update on progress. The masonry is up, the walls are up, so the door frames are in. We've had the schedule kind of continuing to move as we've gone through material deliveries and some of those delays we've seen across the industry. Currently, the contractor is planning to try to get the trusses on and get the building enclosed before winter. But again, we've kind of had moving schedule as we went. So that is the current plan. And we'll see if that comes to fruition. But if that's the case, then we continue to work out there over the next few weeks. So item 11.1 is change order number 1. So we've had a few different things come up along the way that are documented in here. So the first thing was a change in the floor coating system. So we worked with Kenny on that, and we actually changed the floor coating system, and it was a deducted price. So that was changed early in the project. We talked to the architect and came up with a I think a more friendly system. And it's also cheaper. So that was actually deduct in the price. So that's the first item listed there on the change order. The second one was some additional structural steel that was needed. That was not detailed on the plans from the architect. So that was the second cost item. That was an addition. And then the third item was adding a blowout connection for the force main. So if you recall, there is a small pump station that connects that building into the sewer system. And that force main, could potentially stay full of water through winter. And we caught that there was not a way to blow that system out. So that connection is the third item listed on there. So this is change order 1, kind of putting those deducts and added costs together. The result would be an increase to the contract of $2,243. And so that's kind of what's all in the change order. If there's any questions, I can go into more detail, but those are the 3 things covered by this change order.
So I do have one question, Brian, regarding the water treatment. I guess I don't expect you to have the answer, and I know I've had a very busy day. I was hoping to get down to do some digging. I know when we put the existing, in the restroom that we have, within the first year, the city spent $13,000 to change the floor covering because it wasn't working out.
Okay.
And I'm wondering if this restroom was designed with that same crappy floor covering, or if we're gonna end up having the same problem and spending some more money after we go through one season and it's too slippery and you can't clean it. And
You know, I wish I had a little bit more details on the difference between those two, and I know Kenny would.
And I was just gonna say that Kenny is very aware of the issues we've had with the first bathhouse, and so my assumption is he definitely made sure the second one isn't equal.
And the only question I had is, I know that was still a Floyd thing, and that happened in Floyd when I had scrape the old stuff off and.
Yeah, so, and if you recall, the architect that designed this is no longer involved in the project, and so. The things our architect looked at was, we just did an overview and to see if there was any comments they had, and then when this got submitted on the floor coating. They noticed that they didn't think this system was really the best application, and so we worked through that. To get Kenny's opinion on it, and that's what resulted in this change, so I don't necessarily know all the details of what was on the other one. And what was here now.
And the other question I had there, and I know I discussed it with Becky before, and she would have to do some digging, so when we laid the initial. Water and sewer to that building. And I think we spent close to $100,000 to get that done. I was wondering if that forced blowout might have been included in that bid and contract and.
It was not, so in that the pipes were simply run to the site and then they were just stopped there and basically. Just capped for future connection, and so those were basically just sticking up out of the ground, or they were marked for where the contractor would dig. So this flushing connection is more associated with the lift station that's in there. And because there were provisions to flush out the water line and all those other things, and as we were sitting in a construction meeting, actually our inspector just was looking through and said, hey, is there any way to flush this force main out? And we all sat there going, oh, great catch, right? Nobody thought of that, and exactly, it's gonna sit full and be under the roadway, and you know, it's very deep, but with no activity for 6 months. So it wasn't planned, but it was something we thought during construction, so I'm glad that our inspector thought that, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
So is there a motion to approve change order number 1 in the amount of $2,243? Valencia Enterprises for Fisherman's Point Bathhouse project.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Councilor Pop, is there support? Supported by Councilor Borgard. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 11.2, pay request number 3, Valencia Enterprise in the amount of $95,783 and 75 cents for the Fisherman's Point Bathhouse project.
So again, I did comment a little bit about their progress to date and how the project's doing. Most of the work under here was it was some of the masonry and the doors, and then a lot of the site work that was done this fall. Getting the utilities in, getting the lift station in, the piping to and from the building, all that underground site work is a lot of what's on this pay request. And again, the masonry, the rest of the masonry is not on there, but that just got finished, so that will be coming on the next pay request. So the pay request is lagging a little bit with what we see on site because this was submitted a few weeks ago. But as you can see on there, they're about 40. This billing would be about 42% complete with the project to where they are. So again, all the underground work, foundation of the building, and then hopefully get the building up before winter, and then probably holding off on all the finish work until spring. So the completion date, I didn't hasn't changed, but that's June 30th is their completion date. And although we've had some delays in material, they were hoping to be in and out of there this fall, you know, with the entire project. So the delays they've seen has kind of affected their schedule, but it hasn't affected their due date. So.
Okay, is there a motion to approve pay request number 3, the Valencia Enterprise in the amount of $95,783 and 75 cents for Fisherman's Point Bathhouse project?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Counselor Kramer. Is there support?
I'll support.
Support by Counselor Grams. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 11C3, pay request number 27 to Gridger Construction in the amount of $146,059 for the wastewater treatment facility project.
So I know Dick already gave some updates on the project. I'll try to chip in some things that he didn't mention. So if you recall this summer, we talked about the MPCA completion date for startup of the facility was the end of October. We did put a request in with the MPCA to extend that date because of some of the delays the contractor had. So that date moved to the 31st of October. And which the contractor did hit, so the facility was started up on time within that extension from MPCA. The next deadline was to meet limits by December 1st. The kind of ironic thing is the facility needs to meet limits by December 1st, but within your testing schedule, the mercury only gets tested a couple times a year. So Jake is not required to sample mercury until May.
Yeah, May and then September are the 2 times a year they have a sample. But I need to know before we come up to that actual sample date that we're meeting limits, otherwise we would have to keep another chemical. So,
Yeah.
well, this will be a one-time test out of the window to make sure I'm actually. And then on, just go through 4 times a year. Or something.
And even though it's not sampled very frequently, and it's been this project, I was kind of thinking to myself, your pay request 27, which means we've been at this for over 2 years, and then we were at it for 3 years before that, trying to get funding. So, you know, it's been a long time to get to this point, which feels good. But anyway, with you know, the filters themselves, the mercury is kind of attached to the solids, and so if you can get the solids out of the wastewater, you should get the mercury out. And the filters are going to take out any remaining solids out of the rest of the process. So just having them in operation almost guarantees that the mercury is coming out, but it is only sampled a few times a year. But because they're operating, you can feel good that they are doing what they're designed to do, even if the mercury is not being sampled. So I guess that's a little bit on the schedule in terms of NPCA. There is still quite a bit of work to do out there in terms of site work, demolition of the old trickling filters, because pretty much all the new stuff is running now. But there's considerable demolition and site work yet. So they're going to be continuing with the controls integration, getting everything optimized and automation going. But next spring, there's going to be work out there to really wrap things up to get everything. So you see, it says 91% complete on the construction contract. But that does leave, you know, $800,000 still to go on the contract. So 91% sounds close, but there's a lot of work to be done. So I guess if there's any other questions about the wastewater plan, I'll be happy to discuss it further.
I guess, is it ready for, I know the work that council is probably able to come down at any time to tour what's going on.
Yeah.
To the point where we could come and poke our nose in and get a tour.
Yeah, you'd be, any of the council members are welcome to come down for a tour. It's a little messy right now that everything's freezing up, you don't have to worry about the mud. But next year, after they get the paving in and finish all the sidewalks, will be the time. If you guys want to come in this winter, by all means, all of you.
All right,
I know one other question, and I think Jake, you and I have been in consultation on it, but Canoes with Energy Insights has been chomping at the bit to come in and see what energy incentives that some kickbacks we could get from MPNL. So I know this will be at that next month on the council, but I'm sure you have his number or you'll get a hold of him and feel you're ready for him to come in.
Yeah, I've talked to him a few times. The problem when he contacted me before is a lot of our equipment wasn't even.
Was it on?
Now that stuff's up and running, I'd be happy to.
Do you want me to get a hold of him?
Yeah,
I've
I'm
been several times.
yeah,
so
and so does Jake, so.
Okay. somebody will get a hold of him.
Yep.
Yep, and then just get us a list of what they need for materials and make sure you guys get all the equipment lists and everything needed to work through this.
Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion to approve, request number 27? In the amount of $146,059 for the wastewater treatment facility project.
So moved.
Motion made by Counselor Pop, is there support? I'll support that.
Go ahead.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
All right, thank you.
11.4 recommendation to hire seasonal part-time Zamboni operator. Recreation Director West recommends hiring Casey Roby as a seasonal part-time Zamboni operator for the arena. Mr. Roby has worked seasonally for the city for the past several years. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Councilor Pop, is there support?
No support.
Support by Councilor Grams. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. 11.5, resolution 2022-027, application of Minnesota Power Foundation for fire department equipment. Do you want to discuss this?
I'll just hear if you had any questions.
Okay. White Lakes Fire Department wishes to apply for a $10,000 Minnesota Power Foundation grant for the attached fire department equipment. There's a list on here. So $5,000 of personal protective equipment and $5,000 tool apparatus equipment. Anybody has any questions for Becky? Otherwise, is there a motion to approve this resolution? Motion made by Councilor Kramer, is there support? Supported by Councilor Beauregard. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 11.6, is an application to conduct exclusive bingo at VFW Post 8144 on January 13th, 2023 by the White Lakes Firemen's Relief Association.
I believe they'll be working with the chamber for that.
Yeah, we're just gonna
Provide
provide
them
them supplies. They need the supplies and any input on how to run it, but yeah, they do have their own, they're a nonprofit, so they have their own permit to do it.
Okay, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Councilor Beauregard, your support.
I'll support.
Support by Councilor Kramer. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 11.7. Moose 7 Beaver multi-use trail invoice in the amount of $25,412 payable to Contact Engineered Solutions LLC.
So this invoice is for the down payment on the bridge, and so this trail, even though it's also called Moose Trail, goes from Wawabic to Skyville. The other trail, number 11.8, that we're gonna talk about next, goes from Gilbert to Wawabic. So from now on, I'll start putting where the trails go, because I know for myself, it's kind of confusing when we're talking about. So this is the down payment on the bridge, for their second project going from Wawabic to Skyville.
And again, this is just money passing through
Correct.
the city as a fiscal agent.
Yep, and this is all funded, this entire project is gonna be funded by the LCCMR, which is a state run, project for outdoor projects.
So is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Counselor Graham, is it supported by Counselor Pop. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. This is the second one, Moose Trail, Wabick to Gilbert, invoice for wetland credits in the amount of $8,534.67 payable to Stanley Lodge Senior.
If you remember correctly, we had a big wetland credit purchase of $204,000 previously. We were also told at that time that we're gonna have a couple more smaller ones, and this is just a follow-up smaller wetland credit purchase. Obviously, when you're looking at purchasing wetland credits, you have to purchase more than you have to. So as the project narrows and narrows down and gets towards the end, we're purchasing those lower and lower amount of credits to be sure that the Ranger Club is compliant, but that we're not over purchasing. They are very expensive. So again, this is just pass through money and coordinating with SCH and the Ranger Club regarding.
Okay, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Counselor Bordegar, is there support?
I'll support.
Supported by Counselor Pop. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. 11.9, discussion of ordinance regarding short-term rental licenses.
So this in conjunction with number 10, long-term rental licenses, both of these ordinances went in front of the planning commission at their last meeting. They did recommend that the city council pass ordinances regarding short and long-term rentals. What exactly those look like would obviously be up to the council. In your packets are amounts included on that application highlighted in yellow. I wasn't entirely sure what the city council wanted to set those fees at. And so all these things are up for discussion. If you prefer to set a special meeting to discuss this more in depth, or if you prefer to discuss it today or say it looks good, we'll just go ahead with it. However, the council will proceed from here. Do you want me to? So short-term rental is under 30 days. So you're typically talking Airbnb or VRBOs. Long-term rental is anything more than 30 days, which would include contractor housing to your typical rental and properties, that kind of thing. I was sure to include in these ordinances that there are may inspect ordinances, not will inspect. So that means that we have the authority to inspect if we so choose to, or have the East Range PD inspect, but we aren't required to inspect these properties again.
Right now, when residents rent out their homes, there's no regulations or regulations, they're just renting their home.
The city has no idea, other than St. Louis County puts out a report regarding owner occupied homes within the zip code. That's the only idea we have of if we have rentals or not.
The short term includes if you were to rent out your camper or motor home. Is that what?
It specifically says you cannot.
You cannot, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Is there a reason that the short-term rentals were the fees higher than long-term?
Typically, because a short-term rental brings more traffic to the property and more wear and tear. So if you have more people coming in and out of the property, it can cause more issues for the neighbors if they're always having to deal with every weekend a new person rather than a consistent rent over stuff. The other thing I wanted to mention is short-term rentals are subject to the lodging tax in the city. That is not collected by the city, it is collected by the state of Minnesota. And so that is spelled out in the ordinance. I do have a letter from the Iron Range Tourism Bureau, who is the beneficiary of that lodging tax, that we would include in a packet, any short-term rentals. stating that, yes, you have to pay your lodging tax, this is where you pay it to, that kind of thing. But we pay it for the campground, the hotel pays it, everyone with a short-term rental pays that tax. And that helps support the Iron Range Tourism Bureau and bringing people to our community in a tourist.
Well, does the council want to act on this tonight? And if so, is there a motion to approve?
Is a one-time application or yearly?
And if the council was looking to approve it, what would happen is it would be posted for 10 days and your final approval, much like the intoxicating liquor, would be at the next meeting. Or if you want more time to research and ask questions of me, that's.
What is council's pleasure?
I would support it.
Have you had a chance to look at it, Mitch?
Yeah, I reviewed both of them. They're both really very well drafted ordinances. So they're dialed in really good now. So I think they're very clean and I mean, I really didn't feel the legal to do that.
Okay,
So it's really a policy discretionary decision by the council.
Did we look into what any other cities charge for fees for short and long term, or did we just?
We would be the first in our area to set
Okay.
forth an ordinance, and actually Aurora and Wabash have asked for my copies.
I'm just wondering what other communities might be charging. for
I-
these, but-
I know someone who owns property in Duluth and their annual rental license is like $1,800 a year. It's really expensive for rental property in Duluth. Obviously, they're a significantly larger town. I can look into specific fees if you would like for the 2023 fee schedule, so we can more closely align other communities.
I think it's a good starting point. You said we review these fees annually, so if we needed to make any changes, we could later, but I think it's a good starting point.
And the ordinances themselves do not have a fee listed, so that is, you know, you could go forward with approving the ordinances, and then we could look at fees from there.
okay, any other questions? If not, I get a motion to approve the posting of ordinance for short and long rental.
Separate ones.
Yeah, separate motion, but or no,
I don't even know that we need, I can just post them.
you can just post them.
Yeah, you can just do it by consensus. We'll post it. and then
Okay.
have that advance posted period before you officially act on it.
Okay, thank you, Mick. Okay, moving on to 1111 liquor license application approval pending. Receipt of all documents, J-Way LLC DBA Haven Bar and Grill, MC of White Lakes Incorporated DBA Vaughn's Restaurant, SKF Friendly Liquor Incorporated DBA Friendly Liquors, and DFW 8144 DBA Timothy Robinson Post. Is there a motion to approve the liquor license applications for those following, which I just read?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Councilor Beauregard, is there support? Supported by Councilor Kramer. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. This is a letter that has been drafted. Becky, you wanna go ahead?
So I received many complaints, and I did talk with the mayor and Chief Stuhler about those complaints regarding the former Bose School property. So the letter in front of you today is basically a pleading letter to the Minnesota Department of Health and St. Louis County Public Health and Human Services Department regarding the Bose School property. Essentially, the smell and critters coming out of the building, as well as the danger to children. I know that our police officers have pulled kids off of the roof of that building more than one time. It is just not a very safe building to have in our community. And so we do not own it. We cannot do anything about the building. We issue administrative tickets to them every year. They just get put on their tax payroll. They're in tax arrears, so they're not paying taxes anyway. And so it's essentially something that we need a department with a little more leverage to really get involved. And my hope is that either the Minnesota Department of Health or the Public Health and Human Services Department from St. Louis County will be able to take some action regarding the property. And don't leave here today, council, without signing letters, so.
So this letter has been drafted. It has all our names, signatures, along with the police chief, city administrator, and the public works director. Is there a motion to approve this? I'll make that motion. Is there support?
I'll support.
Motion made by Mayor Zins, supported by Councilor Pop. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Thank you for drafting that. Okay, at this moment, we will go into closed session under 13D-05. Subdivision 3C, land sale of parcel number 142-0022-0080. And we will go into closed session. When we come to closed session, there will be no further city business discussed, and we will adjourn. So at this time, we will go on closed session.
Correct. And the only other thing I wanted to mention is the canvassing meeting will immediately follow the regular city council meeting. So closed session, we just ask everyone to leave, and then if you want to stay for the canvassing meeting, we just ask you to leave.